Welcome to the Glia Otoscope Assembly Guide. This is the assembly guide that you can find on our GitHub repository for the Glia Otoscope. These are the 3D printed parts that you're going to need for the otoscope. These are the tools that you'll need to assemble the otoscope, including a soldering iron, lead-free solder, and helping hands. This is the diagram of the electronics for the otoscope. We're going to take you through step by step and show you how to put this together. The first thing to do is to cut the battery case wiring 90 millimeters on the black end and 44 millimeters on the red end. Cut the wires and then strip them to expose the wires for soldering. Next, cut a piece of red wire 130 millimeters and strip both ends for soldering. Then cut the 2.7 ohm resistor 5 millimeters on each end. You're going to use lead-free solder to solder the red wires to the ohm resistor on either end of the ohm resistor. Then you're going to cover the exposed wires with heat shrink tubing. In order to get the battery case to fit the battery holder, you can trim the edges of the battery case with an X-Acto blade. Now fit the battery case into the battery holder. Both wires fit up through the hole in the battery holder with the red wire at the bottom, and it will follow a channel in the battery holder up through the hole. Try to keep both wires straight as you push in the battery case. It is a snug fit, and you can see how both wires come up through the hole in the top of the battery holder. The LED has two prongs. The longer prong is positive. Take a red marker and mark this prong, and then trim both prongs to 7 millimeters. Then you're going to cut a black wire 70 millimeters long and a red wire 60 millimeters long. You're going to solder these wires to the LED, keeping in mind that the red wire will be soldered to the positive prong, the one that you marked with the red pen. After you solder, cover the exposed wires with shrink tube. When you finish soldering the LED bulb, you can test the wires against the wires in the battery case. Put batteries in the battery case and then just hold the black wire to the exposed black wire out of the battery case and the LED red wire to the red wire out of the battery case. This will test to see if the wires are good. If the wires are good, you can proceed to put the LED into the LED holder. Bend the LED bulb at 90 degrees to the wires. Use tweezers to get the wires into the narrow slot in the LED holder, and then it might take a little bit of pressure to get the LED bulb in. Once the LED bulb is in the LED holder, you can put the LED holder up through the button cover. Keep in mind that the LED bulb faces forward and the space for the switch on the button cover is at the back. And then cover the neck of the LED holder with the neck cover plate. Once this is done, you can put the LED holder up through the head. Once the LED holder is up through the head of the otoscope, you can glue it with some cyanoacrylate glue. Just a couple of drops to keep it in place. Once the LED holder, button cover, and head are all assembled, you can then test the wires again with the battery case. Now you're going to trim the edges off of the switch. There are 2 prongs that come with the switch that is purchased, and you're going to trim these little plastic bits off so that it fits in the space for the switch. Now you're going to solder the 2 black wires to the switch, the one that's coming out of the battery case and the one that is attached to the LED bulb. First, we're going to solder the one that's attached to the LED bulb. Don't forget to put heat shrink tubing on before you solder it to the switch. You're going to put the wire through one part of the switch, doesn't matter which part, and make sure that it's crimped tightly before soldering. Once the black wire from the LED bulb is soldered to the switch, then you're going to solder the black wire from the battery case to the switch. Don't forget to put on shrink tubing before you solder it to the switch. Again, you're going to crimp the wire around the switch and then solder. Once the black wires are soldered to the switch will work. You're going to try the wires out by flipping the switch on and touching the red wires to each other, just to make sure that everything is still working before you solder the red wire. If everything is working properly, now you're going to solder the 2 red wires, the one coming out of the battery case and the one coming from the LED. Don't forget to put shrink tubing on before you solder these wires, so that you can cover the exposed wire. Once this is done, the electronics are complete. You can check the switch to see if it works. If all the wiring is good and the LED bulb lights up, that's great. Now you can put the switch into place and glue it with some cyanoacrylate glue. Put the battery holder in the handle. This is going to give you the proper placement of the button cover over the switch. Make sure that the wires are up inside the button cover and they're not getting crimped or pinched. And then place the button cover over the battery holder so that the switch is properly placed. You can secure the button cover over the battery holder with a couple of dabs of cyanoacrylate glue on the battery holder. In order to create the otoscope lens, take your magnifying glass and cover back to front with painter's tape. Place your taped magnifying lens into the lens jig. The lens jig is available on our GitHub repository. Once the lens jig is in place, take a fine pen and trace as close as you can to the opening in the jig. This is the shape of the lens that is going to fit into the lens holder of the otoscope. Cut out this shape carefully, but don't go over the lines that you've made. Now you can sand the edges of the lens so that it'll fit properly in the lens holder. You can keep testing on the lens holder until you get a proper fit. The lens should fit the lens holder snugly. You don't want any gaps around the opening. Take the tape off of the lens. Then take the lens and put it into the large lens holder. It should fit snugly. You're going to pop that in. Shouldn't be loose or have any gaps. Then take the small lens holder. You're going to place that over top and it should fit snugly in and hold the lens in place. Then you can take the lens holder with the lens in it and you slide it into the back of the head. Thanks for watching the Glia Otoscope Assembly Guide. All of these instructions are found on our GitHub repository, Glia X, for the otoscope. You can find this video and written instructions, including the lens jig and a lens guide, the bill of materials, and print settings. for the 3D parts. Please contact us if you have any questions or any problems getting the otoscope together. We're happy to help. Thank you.